Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood with Glen and Dave. I'm Dave Martin. I'm the owner of Martin's Auto Repair down in Central Phoenix.
And I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And we are here changing the perception of the auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and under the hood.
In these podcasts, we're going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of owning a small business in the auto repair industry from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started.
Morning, Dave.
Good morning, Glenn. How you doing?
Dude, what's going on, man?
Well, you know, the weather's cooling down. It's going to be really, really nice out there.
We're both wearing long sleeves this morning. It's 60 degrees outside. I'm sorry, it was 46 degrees this morning.
It's cooling down, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. And today's high temperature is only going to be like 62 degrees. So, wow.
Yeah.
Big change. So, today we're going to talk about a very near and dear to our heart subject, which is second opinions, you know. And what is a second opinion?
Well, it's where you go to a shop and they give you maybe a list of things that the vehicle needs, or they tell you maybe they're trying to diagnose the car and they're telling you that, you know, it may be this, it may be that, and you're kind of feeling a little uneasy, and you're not sure. You got to ask the right questions, number one, but number two, that's when you kind of, if you get to the point where you feel like you're not getting the answers to your questions that you should be getting, it's time to get a second opinion.
Yeah, well, you know, I think about the medical scenario of a second opinion. You know, maybe you're just going into the pharmacy, you got a stomach ache or you got something going on. So you talk to the pharmacist and say, hey, you know, I mean, these guys are trained medical professionals. They have almost a doctor's degree. Well, they do in pharmaceutical, but they know a lot about, you know, anatomy and physiology and all the things that doctors need to know about. So for all intents and purposes, the pharmacist is pretty wise, and, you know, he's not going to give you a diagnostic, as it were. But the deal is, okay, so your stomach's hurting, sir, and how long has this been going on, that kind of thing. And, you know, the deal is he's not really doing a true diagnostic, right? He's going by symptoms. And so symptoms can be very elusive and very deceptive sometimes. And, you know, the honest truth is you could have stage 2 or stage 3, stage 4 stomach cancer, or you may have, you know, diverticulitis or something like that. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know until what?
Well, until he does the tests.
Yeah, some testing has been done. So the pharmacy is not the answer, right? And many times I compare shops that don't have the diagnostic capabilities that our shops do.
Absolutely.
To going, you know, so honestly, if the pharmacist is honest, he or she is going to say, you know, you could have just a stomach ache, you may be eating some bad tacos, or you may have, you know, a serious problem, you know, and not necessarily go into the cancer scenario or anything, because you don't want to get the person all frustrated, because they do value the opinion of the person who's talking to them. But at the end of the day,
sometimes that's not a good opinion.
Right. And so, you know, instead of getting the person all flustered, they would recommend that you go see your doctor, someone who is doing that. And so the customer goes to their regular doctor. And I'm going to beleaguer this just a little bit to make my point. They go to the regular doctor, and the doctor says, you know, he feels your stomach, and he'll take some blood tests and different things like that. But even at that, he may say, I think you have a more serious problem. I'm going to, you know, refer you to a specialist.
Right.
Okay. And so the specialist then is going to do maybe an MRI or some X-rays or whatever is appropriate for whatever the symptoms are. And how does that differentiate some shops from other shops?
Well, one of the things that you said that was very important, that I feel like the consumer needs to really understand when they come through that door the first time, they need to ask the right questions. Do you have the capability to diagnose my car correctly? Do you have the technology? Do you have the guys that know how to use the technology? There's so much into that.
There's a lot of people that have scan tools that have capabilities way beyond their personal capabilities to understand and operate them and read the data. And that's why doctors, you know, a regular, you know, walk-in doctor that maybe he's just a family, you know, practice doctor.
Right, exactly.
He doesn't have that expertise. He's not trained in reading that stuff. He's not trained in, you know, tearing all of that information apart and figuring out what's going on.
It's not his thing, and usually they'll admit that. It's kind of equated to, and I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole on this, but it's like sometimes people will go and buy a code reader, plug it into their computer, or they'll go to a parts store and they'll have them read the codes. Well, that code reader is only going to take you so far.
Right.
It's only going to give you an idea of where the problem is, and this is one of the things I tell my clients. It just tells you that there's a problem in Phoenix. Now, we have to pull out a real scan tool, and then we have to tell them what the address is, the zip code, and where the problem really is.
Dave, what's the difference between a $29 scan tool and an $8,000 scan tool?
Oh, the technologies, there's a huge difference, and we both know that. And so the first step is if you do have a particular problem. Hey, we've had a bunch of cars in this year where they had taken it to a place and they had a running problem, and they had put all kinds of parts in it, the plugs, the coils. They've done all of the easy stuff,
right,
and didn't fix the problem,
right, and spent a lot of money doing it.
Oh,
even though you call it the easy stuff, but the easy stuff, like you said, it's $1,000.
It's
$1,000.
So
now
bucks,
they spend $1,000, have the same problem, same symptoms, same check engine lights back on again.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So they bring it to me to have me diagnose it, and what we have to do is we have to figure out what the actual problem is, and that's very important, because the consumer, I mean, we're all on a budget. Let's face it. You know, I talked about it before we got on the show. The thing of it is hey, money's getting a little tight out there. Christmas is right around the corner, and you know what I mean. Money's tight. So we want to make sure that we do our job as efficiently as possible. Want to make sure that we fix the problem that the customer brought it in for, and that's where the second opinion really can save you a lot of money.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, getting the right diagnostic right from the get-go will save the consumer a tremendous amount of money. It costs more to do the diagnostic on one side, but when you have the right answer and you're not throwing a bunch of parts on there and charging not just for the parts but the labor as well, you compare the two bills, and getting the right answer the first time is going to be a tremendous savings. It could be 20, 30, 40, 50%. And now the person is really frustrated because you're telling them something completely different. You're promising them that they already have their doubts now because whatever this other shop or shops did before didn't fix the problem. So really, having the kind of, shop that can provide you that information sooner rather than later is going to save the customer a lot of money. So you said this customer wasted $1,000. That's a lot of money, brother.
Right. Well, and on the other side of the coin is let's just flip it, because sometimes the cheaper diagnosis isn't always the right fix either. Right. Sometimes what happens is that you get somebody that tells you, hey, it's going to cost you $1,000 to fix your car. And then some guy up the street says he can do it for $500. Well, he does it for $500. He puts an inferior part in the car, or he doesn't do it the correct way. And then all of a sudden, in a month from now, you're back with the same problem.
Right. Well, I'm going to go back to the doctor thing again, because the doctor who doesn't have the expertise or the whatever, and you have to go there first to get a referral, right? Which is I think it's kind of hokey, to be honest. The medical profession, the way it's set up. You have to go to your general practice doctor first, and he has to refer you, and then he may refer you to two different places, because he's going to send you to specialist, and the specialist says, well, you're going to have to go have an MRI, and they may not have the equipment. So now you're on your third visit trying to get the answer to whatever this ailment is that you have in your body. But it's interesting to note that a lot of times we get objections. Well, the customer says it's going to be this much for us to diagnose the vehicle. And it may not be just, for the first hour. We may need to go deeper. And so, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 diagnostics, they cost more money.
It could, because you can spend hours diagnosing it.
Exactly.
There's
and if
a
I
lot.
charge you for an hour,
Yep.
I've just lost the second hour, the third hour,
Yep.
or sometimes even the fourth hour, trying to figure out where your problem is. And sometimes, the problem is that the car that they bought was underwater somewhere, and it's got module issues. And I think I shared that in a previous episode. And those are not diagnostics. You just look at it. I don't have an X-ray machine or some kind of thing that plugs in and says, oh, yeah, you've got some bad modules.
Isn't that funny? People think that, though.
Yeah.
People think our scan tools
and
just
then
tell
they're
us.
outraged that you want to charge them, They say, well, do you include your diagnostic fee in the repair? Do you negate the diagnostic fee? No, I'm paying my highest paid tech
with the most expensive tool.
equipment
Yeah.
to look at your vehicle. No, I could never afford to do that because I have to pay for this equipment. I have to pay for this highly trained technician. I pay for all of his training.
Well, you said about the medical field, it's like when you go get x-rayed, does the doctor knock off the x-ray on the surgery?
Exactly.
It doesn't happen.
No, it's all inclusive, right? Yeah. I mean, it's overly inclusive, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if it's not done by the right person with the right expertise and the right equipment to be able to figure that out, it's going to be a problem. So back to our subject, relating this back to the subject, a second opinion is absolutely important. And it's not just because, we're the shops that get to, charge the extra money for the whatever. It's because if you get the wrong answer, you're going to spend more money.
Absolutely. And Glenn, we're human. We've made mistakes. And so the thing of it is, but when we make mistakes, we eat it. And the thing of it is if we tell a customer that this is going to fix their problem and it doesn't fix their problem, guess what? You eat it.
Yeah.
And
we have a warranty that
yeah.
that says that, this is going to fix your problem. We warranty it for whatever period of time. Like my warranty is 5 years, 60,000 miles. I think yours is 336, right?
Right. But here's the other side of the coin is sometimes, when diagnosing these cars, sometimes it gets really complicated, and sometimes these cars come in with multiple problems, and sometimes it's you find you test one thing and it's bad, you replace that, well then you keep going down that tree, trying that troubleshooting tree to figure out if there's anything else going on, then you find something else. So sometimes there is multiple problems, and we're running into more and more of that because these cars got 10, 20, 30 modules on them.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things, and they all work together. So it is complicated, and that's the thing. And sometimes, hey, shops try to do their best, but problem is sometimes they just don't have the expertise or they don't have the equipment to do it. So, in my opinion, they should just send it out and not do anything to the car. That'd be the right thing to do. But
right.
Take it to a shop that has those capabilities. But also, you just want to make sure that you ask them the right questions. You want to get the right answers. And one of the things that we've got such technology, and you got it and I got it in my shop, and you said it earlier about the digital vehicle inspections. And you can touch on that a little bit about how much has that saved you in explaining things and making the customer feel so much more comfortable because it's all right there with pictures. It has all the information on there, and it's just a great tool.
It is. It's absolutely essential, and why only about 10 to 15% of shops across the country have digital inspections where they can show people pictures of the data that's on the computer that we pull out of there, and we say this needs to be between this volts and that volts, or this many ohms or that many ohms, and yours is out of range, therefore this is the part that needs to be replaced, and
right.
This will fix the problem. That gives them peace of mind. Seeing is believing. There's that old adage,
Yeah.
And there's another adage that we talked about before, opinions. There's an old adage that says opinions like assholes. Everybody has one, but
and they all stink.
They all stink, right? So, but that is an adage that is true. It may be a little bit vulgar, but at the end of the day, it's true. Everyone's got an opinion about something, but who's really right? And when you have, visual proof to the customer, that assures them that they went to the right shop. Whatever they're going to pay is going to be a fair price because you're not guessing. You're not putting this laundry list, if you will, of parts on their bill.
Yeah.
And the labor to install all of them. I mean, and that's another thing where it's really stupid. Like a lot of shops, if they have to do 3 or 4 procedures on your vehicle, and one procedure goes through all those other ones to remove all those parts, they're going to charge you, they do charge you for every other part that they take off, when in essence the labor guide already allows for the taking off and replacement of those parts that have to be taken off to get to the part that actually needs to be replaced.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, sometimes there's combined labor that that the customer really, you have half the car apart, and now you go in there, it's like when you take an intake off, sometimes the spark plugs are right there, and so you can do the job a lot more economical, which is good for the customer. But yeah, and really,
But people don't know. They don't know the
They don't-
nomenclature,
right.
the makeup of the vehicle, so they don't know that
Yeah.
you're already going to be taking off their alternator and their air conditioning compressor
and
the
we let them
power
know.
steering
Yep,
pump. to
That's
get-
that's our job.
Right. But they'll charge you for all those other
Yeah, right,
items,
right,
even though
right.
they have to be taken off anyway to get the job done. They
Yeah.
just don't know, and so they get taken advantage of, and that's where, a second opinion. These people want to charge me 20 hours to do this job, cumulatively with all the stuff that they added onto the bill when the job was only 10 hours
Right,
long. So
right.
they're paying an extra 10 hours of labor. So again, it's knowing and having a shop that you can trust. So I encourage everybody to look at the reviews, look at
Yeah.
the things that are said about the shop. They have honesty, they have integrity. They didn't try to sell me a bunch of stuff I didn't need. When they charge me the honest labor according to the labor guide. And the labor guide it's not the Bible, it is just a guide.
Right.
And sometimes a job, because you got rusted bolts or you have things that have been added onto the vehicle, aftermarket things,
Yeah, that's
it
definitely
takes
wrong, yeah.
more time to get those vehicles apart and put them back together with all of the stuff that's been added on there. So again, we will tell the customer up front, look, you have an aftermarket air intake, or you have an
Yeah.
aftermarket something, whatever it is
Yeah.
that they've added onto the car that is interfering with our ability to take this vehicle off in the regular amount of time. So we're going to have to add whatever whatever is fair to the tech and to our shop to charge.
Time is money, man.
Appropriately.
Time is money, and the thing, the more time we have to spend on it, the more we have to charge. Because our technicians, we're 400,000 people short in our industry right now, and these technicians, they want to make their hours, and they want to make what they deserve, really,
Yeah.
what they deserve.
Yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to touch on, you were talking about reviews, and you know what, that's very important, but also check longevity. I mean, we've been in business 52 years. And if a shop's been in business 52 years, let me tell you something. They've been doing something right.
Yeah, they're still. You're still there, and we're still here.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we've been in business for 20 years, but I personally have 50 years in the automotive repair business,
Yep.
and so it's really important to know that. Yeah, you're right. The longevity, says a lot about whether your business has survived. Because when you see a lot of these national chains and stuff like that, they have new managers, they have new techs in there, literally sometimes weekly and monthly, because either they can't stand ripping people off, or they get such a bad reputation for doing that they have to fire the manager and go on to the next time, because it's all about greed. It's all about the bottom line. For us, it's about taking care of the customer. It's about doing the right thing. It's about making sure that the customer is informed with the why. Why do we have to do this, and why does this have to be done this way? And going through that process, not just saying, well, you need this, and hand them the laundry list and say, this is what your bill's going to be, yes or no.
Well, and so many shops in the last 2 years have been bought out. Family-owned businesses that have been around for a long time. The baby boomers are all timing out. We're getting to that point.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is these hedge funds and these big investment firms are coming in and buying multiple shops. And so you want to go to a place where the owner is on site, not in
Yes.
New York, living in a high-rise building and telling them that
Exactly.
they got to sell so much.
I live in a low rise.
Yeah, low
myself.
rise. Yeah, low rise. Yeah, yeah. But it really is. The small family-owned businesses, they're part of the community. They support your kids' soccer games, softball, baseball,
Exactly.
and there's there again, and that's just another rabbit hole we could go down. Is buy local. I'm a big believer in it.
Absolutely,
I'm a huge
and I
believer.
would encourage any of you. We're not just saying we're the only two good shops in town, but go to a local shop that's been in business for a long time. Check their reviews. Make sure that they're known for their honesty and their integrity and their customer service care, because those are three really, really major points that everyone deserves when they're opening their wallet and they're giving you their vehicle is their transportation to and from work to earn a living, right? To take their kids to those soccer games and the Little League or whatever it is that they're doing. So they're entrusting us, and
Yeah.
we owe it to them, and like we do with our own families, to do the right thing, to make sure that the customer is taken care of, that their needs are catered to. We do have financing plans for the people who are coming up a little bit short on what it costs, because
Yeah.
auto repair, let's face it, it's expensive.
And nobody budgets for it. Nobody budgets for it.
Auto
Yeah.
parts have literally doubled and in some cases tripled in price.
Yeah.
I can't absorb that any more than you can or any other business can. So the markup, the margins on everything have to be appropriate for me to keep my doors open. The good businesses of the day that are just eating that cost are no longer in business, because it's not about that they didn't have integrity. They tried to do too much for the customer and not think about the way it was damaging themselves. So it's a really hard mix for us to deal with, because I have to pay my employees more now because the cost of living has gone up. I don't want them quitting because they can go down the road and get a job somewhere else and get $4 or $5, $6, $10 an hour more than I can pay them. And the benefits are important. So we afford these things to our employees as well. And I know we're getting a little bit off subject here, but auto repair is expensive, and it's expensive for those reasons that I mentioned.
Right, and then let's just kind of wrap this thing up here a little bit. But one of the things that we want the consumer not to have a breakdown. We want the consumer to be able to drive their car and not be on the back of a tow truck. It's embarrassing to me if one of my regular customers come in on a tow truck. Now, there's certain things that you just can't prevent, things that do happen, but for the most part, if there's something that we could have prevented, it's embarrassing to me, because people think that a car in the back of the tow truck is what we want. We don't. It's terrible, because we base our business off a schedule, and the thing of it is we've got so many clients coming in that day. Now, if we get a couple of tow-ins and that customer's broken down, they need their car back. So guess what's going to happen? We have to, work twice as hard to try to fit it in, and it just causes chaos. So we definitely want the consumer out there to be able to have trouble-free driving. That's our goal. And so when we recommend something, that's why we recommend it. And sometimes we'll see something and say, hey, this thing's going to give you trouble. It may not give you trouble right now, but it's going to give you trouble.
Exactly. It's called preventative maintenance, right?
Maintenance, absolutely.
And I just want to share a really quick story. A customer that has been coming to me for over a decade came in with this Toyota Tacoma, just hit 100,000 miles. So we're going through his records, and we noticed that we'd never done a transmission flush service. And he says, well, I'm pretty sure I've had one done. So I says, can you check your records? He says, well, I've always taken it to the dealer for the checklist and stuff like that to maintain my warranty. Well, he's at 100,000, he's out of warranty. So I says, well, why don't you just go ahead and check it anyway, see if it's ever been done in the life of your vehicle, because your transmission fluid is very dark and it looks like it's never been serviced. And so he checks, and sure enough, we had never done it, even though we had recommended it. It was in his deferred service recommendations. And I said, you realize that this is supposed to be done every 30,000 miles on your truck. Here it is in your manual. He went, oh yeah, it does say that. I says, well, why didn't the dealer do it? And I'll tell you why the dealer didn't do it, because it cost them too much money to do a free transmission service on your vehicle. Even while it's on its 36,000 mile warranty, it costs them too much money. So if the fluid still looks red, and it's going to be pretty red yet at 30,000 on a new vehicle, right? I said, they shortchanged you. Now you started coming to me, and I've been recommending this every 30,000, and you were sure when you started coming here with the truck after it was out of warranty that those services had been done. But here's the facts. They checked the boxes. They didn't check transmission oil. They said it looked good. So they never charged you or never did the actual service. So now he's at 100,000 miles. His fluid is very dark, and he's still convinced in his mind that the dealer was taking care of that stuff. So, people are very distrustful these days of dealerships, because the bottom line is their bottom line. That's really all they care about. And he says, well, why didn't they recommend that I did this? I said, maybe the technician was lazy. Maybe he wasn't aware of it, because a lot of times the lube techs aren't informed and educated on when this stuff needs to be done. I said, they could have rightfully charged you for doing that service, because it's not included in your, during your warranty period that they do those things.
Right, services are not.
And so they never recommended it, so you figured you never believed it needed to be done, because you had this implicit trust in the dealership that they were going to do the right thing for their vehicle. Their goal really is to sell you a new vehicle every 36,000 miles.
Well, and our goal is, I know at my shop, our goal is to get you 300,000 miles out of the vehicle.
Amen, brother.
That's what we want to do. So, hey, to wrap this thing up here, I guess, back to the second opinions.
By the way, he did do the service.
Did he?
Oh,
good,
yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And so, to wrap this up, it's the consumer out there just needs to feel comfortable. Yeah. And I want every one of our customers, if they don't feel comfortable with what we're telling them, definitely go get a second opinion. And I've actually told customers that. But you want to make sure you get the right second opinion. Get somebody out there. If you're going to go get a second opinion, make sure you don't go from bad to worse. You want to make sure that somebody gives you the explanation and the information that you deserve to make a really good decision.
That's right.
I mean, you want to make sure that you don't overspend fixing your car, but you want to make sure you don't underspend either, because that's going to come back and bite you later. I mean, what's the difference if you spend, somebody tells you it's $1,000 and you go somewhere and it's $500, and then all of a sudden a month later you have to spend another $1,000 because what they did wasn't actually the right repair.
Right. Well, let's leave it at this. You can't make an informed decision without information.
Yep.
So we'll
absolutely.
wrap it up with that today, and thank you so much for your attention. And our hope is that you have learned something valuable with this podcast today.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
We'll check all of you out the next time, and check us out on our next podcast. Thank you.